Hey everyone, we are live. Welcome to this live conversation with Ellen Scherr. Ellen runs the publication Life Branches and has had quite an adventurous last few weeks. So I persuaded her to come on live so we can have a conversation. If you've not seen Ellen on Substack recently, then she writes about women in midlife transition. And like 12 days ago, if you'd went on her publication, she had about 290 subscribers. And just in the last 12 days, she's knocked up an extra 7,000. Yep, 7,000. So it's all gone a bit bonkers for her. So I thought it'd be really good to pull her in and have a little conversation and find out all the secrets. So thanks for joining us, Ellen. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm still pinching myself. Every morning I wake up and I go, is this really a dream? Am I going to wake up from this dream? So, but no, it's happening.
Yeah. So what does that feel like, having 7,300 subscribers overnight?
It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way, because I've been plugging at it for 6 months or probably about 6 months and, hearing crickets. I mean, I think at most my notes maybe got 2 likes, my
Right.
best friend and my sister.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's been crickets.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened then? How did you do it? Did you just find a little secret sauce 12 days ago, a little switch that you clicked, or how did it happen?
Okay, so just so everybody knows, this is not a paid endorsement, okay? He does not know in advance that I was going to say this, but didn't have a lot of faith in my writing. I don't consider myself a writer. I see a lot of people on Substack who have an extreme talent. I don't have that talent. So learning how to write better and learning to get me as a person out in my words was very difficult. And so I've been working with Derek for a while, and I really have to credit him for teaching me everything. I really don't think I could have done it without him. Maybe eventually I would have gotten it, but this helped definitely speed up the process. So I took everything he told me. We had one-to-one calls every week. I made notes, followed his advice, tweaked, retweaked, and I guess the one just happened to hit home. But I had no idea when I posted it, it was going to go viral like this.
All right, so let's give people one or two examples or specifics. So you were kind of getting some ideas and input about how to change your writing, and you were working on that every week for every 3 months or something.
Yeah.
What sort of things were you changing as you went on that journey over the last 3 months? Could you give people one or two kind of examples?
Yeah, it wasn't so much about, I don't think, what I was writing, because I don't think that has changed, but it was the style and communication in my writing to get my message across. And that's where your help came in, because you have certain guidelines, you have certain things to follow, things that I never paid attention to because I've never been a writer. And so learning all of those and learning those techniques, I think really made a difference.
Yeah, and I was massively impressed by how you respond to that. So I have people who buy my courses and they never even complete them. Do you know what I mean? You can see they bought it and they've not done anything about it. And I know that you were quite frustrated with some of the progress. You know what I mean? Because you're quite impatient, aren't you? You know, you want to keep doing, you want this and this. And I think initially we were doing meeting fortnightly, weren't we? And then you were like, no, I want to grow faster. Let's meet weekly and stuff, you know? And I noticed, I could see changes in your writing, you know, your intro and your headline, your formatting and all that sort of stuff. And I was like a bit amazed really from week to week how you were taking it and you were working on it. And I could see in front of my eyes how it was changing. And, but that didn't immediately result in the better numbers. There's kind of a delay effect, etc., isn't there? And so how did you keep going during that season? Because I know, I mean, you said to me one time, you were chatting to your sister, and your sister's encouraging you not to quit because it's quite hard to keep going when
Mhm.
we don't see any results. So, how were you able to keep going, keep applying the learning, even though you weren't immediately seeing the results? You're getting like 2 likes or whatever it might have been.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is the mental challenge, and as a therapist, I do that with my clients, but I wasn't able to continually do it for myself. And so, it's a lot like what you have written about people. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work. I would tell my sister, and if I knew how hard this really was and how much effort it really took, I don't know if I would have done it. But, we hear and read about so many success stories, but like you have mentioned in your posts, didn't happen overnight. Just kept going at it and at it. So my one of my recommendations is to have a support person. Have somebody so when you feel like nothing's moving, nothing's happening, you can call that person, and that's the person who's going to lift you up and say, "Nope, got to keep going," and just infuse that little bit of momentum back into you. Because I have a full time practice, so I'm doing this at the end of the day and all night long and all weekend long. So basically, I've given up, a lot of personal things in order to do this. So
Yeah. So having someone else who can just cheer you on, and someone for you to express your frustration and kind of let it out, really. Because I know you're right. Everyone says you've just got to be in it for the long term, which is
mhm,
kind of fine in theory, but like when you're frustrated or you're discouraged, kind of then to write another post and to write another 7 posts, and
mhm.
that's quite hard, isn't it? Because writing, you need that motivation to share and to write, really.
Right, and it's funny because this almost became like an addiction for me because every time I'd get my sister would tell me, "No, don't quit, keep going." I'd say, "Okay, maybe I'll just write one more post," and then I get really excited and write that one post. And it's almost like this fighting. I wanted to give it up, but I couldn't give it up. It was
Yeah.
like this challenge within myself, like, "No, I promised myself I was gonna do this and make it work."
And why would you be excited? So you just said like, okay, I'll just do the next post, and then you start to write the next post, and you get a little bit excited by it. What was the excitement?
Because I'm not a writer.
Right.
And so just like you said, just me seeing my own improvement, I was like, "Wow, I think I can do this." You know?
Yeah.
I can speak my opinions and my voice, but putting in paper has never been my forte. So I would always look at other people's writing saying like, "Oh, I could never do that because I can't write like that." Um, but as you said, as you started pointing out my improvements and I started noticing my improvements, that gave me a little bit more momentum.
Yeah, yeah. Because the thing is, people's response and what happened to your numbers, you like have no control over that. You know what I mean? That you
Mhm,
put it out, and even now, I've done so much writing, but I still can't guarantee what's going to go well and won't, etc. So I think that idea of getting people's attention away from the numbers and just your own improvements. And the
mhm,
truth, if someone improves every week, every month, and keeps writing and keeps getting better, then actually inevitably people will start to see their stuff. We
mhm,
can't say how long it will be, but as long as
mhm,
they're improving, and what sometimes people get wrong is they talk about consistency. It's important to be consistent, and it is, but it's not enough. You've got to kind of consistently get better, which is, I think, what you were doing. And if you
mhm,
get better, and you look back and you can see that, and
mhm.
I think you did there, where even looking at the improvements and encouraging yourself with that, and encouraging like with other people is really, yeah, great approach to take.
The
And
the other hard part, which I felt you helped me is, um, you learned early on that I'm definitely type A personality. So there were many times when I would ask you to ask certain things. You say, no, no, you're getting way too ahead of yourself. Like, slow down. So one of the challenges was I knew what I was passionate about. I knew what I wanted to write about. I knew how I wanted to help other women in midlife, but I wasn't sure how I should gear my posts. So at first I thought, well, I'm just going all over the place, different topics. One post might be divorce, one post might be menopause, whatever. And I remember getting frustrated that thinking like, unless I narrowed down on one specific thing and continually wrote about that one thing, and you said, no, don't do that. Continue to spread your wings, write about all different things. And that's then what finally gave me the ability to start to narrow down on its own what people were looking for. So at first it was just like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah, yeah. So experiment with different angles. And even though you have got a lot of counsel experience of helping your target audience, in terms of writing, you're just kind of experimenting with different angles and how to phrase it and what to. Am I right in thinking from memory in the early days you would pack too many ideas into one post?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. I love that in the early days. We're talking like 4 months ago.
And part of the challenge is because you're like a qualified expert in your field, you almost know too much, And so when you come to write, and it's like,
Mhm,
absolutely, people just need digestible chunks. And even though like you've got so much to share, it's like, how do you package that up in a way people can digest and just
mhm.
kind of experiment with that?
Yeah, because I have a lot of mental health knowledge to give to people, but I don't think that's really what people were looking for. And that's what I started concentrating on at first.
Yeah, yeah. Can I ask you about AI? So I know somebody, I've just lost the person's name. Somebody was asking about Eva, I think it was asking about your voice. And is that the key thing, finding your voice? And I know that you use AI in some of your writing,
Mhm,
etc. And but when I look at the comments on your recent post, and you got like hundreds, thousands of comments, people are deeply moved by your words. Yeah, they're not like hooked as in they've just hooked with some fancy clickbaity stuff. They're deeply touched by them, deeply powerful share.
mhm.
You can use AI for some of your writing. And so I think that that could be really interesting for people to hear about because, AI is a very controversial topic. You got
Yep.
people think if you're a proper writer, you don't use AI, and everybody else, there's those that think you should use AI for everything, and they end up with the bland robotic stuff. So, how do you use AI so that your writing is having such a powerful impact on people?
Yeah, that was a difficult um challenge for me, not being a writer, because I didn't want to rely heavily on AI, but I knew what I wanted to write. It was just putting it together that I didn't have the skill. I'm acquiring that skill, so I'm depending less on AI. But in the beginning, it was okay. I know what I want to say. I know what the topic is. I just don't know how to put it all together. So it's a cohesive post. So I'd go in AI. I'd ask AI to tell me the best way to write this. Then I'd look at AI. Then once I saw that, I could then develop my own because it gave me the idea of how to put it together, how to best put it together. Then I go back in and rewrite because obviously I didn't want just, everything from AI. But yeah, actually, there were a lot of comments from that one post about using AI. And it's like I use it as a tool. I mean, just I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm not just going into AI and copy and pasting what AI gives me into a post. I don't think that works. But I'm using it as another tool to help me.
Yeah. I mean, I recognize a lot of writers using AI and it's coming up with this kind of vanilla, bland, generic stuff in a way, but your writing is very different. And so it sounds like you have this like partnership interaction with AI a little bit
Mhm.
where like you start with your ideas of what you want to say and you dump them in AI for it to kind of tidy it up. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times, you through my work with you, I didn't realize the importance of the titles. It's interesting. I just read a post this morning briefly. I didn't read the whole thing about it almost sounded like they thought me using the F word was what made it go viral. And I have to say at first, I was wondering if that's what it was. But when you read the comments, it has nothing to do with that. So maybe that got somebody's attention.
Yeah.
But it's what I had to say that was more important. Because if what I had to say wasn't good, nobody would have read past the first paragraph. And I came up with that through AI because I think I remember putting into AI, give me some out of the box titles. And it gave me, a list. And that happened. I tweaked that title. That's not exactly what AI gave me. But when I saw that AI actually put the F word in there, I was like, oh, wow, can I do that? That's a little bold. I was a little uncomfortable. But I said, okay, well, I've got nothing to lose. I don't have many subscribers anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So there's this. So you haven't switched your brain off, but you're having this kind of intellectual partnership with AI. Then you're putting some stuff in, and you're not just saying "give me anything." You're thinking something out of the box because you want to be a bit more creative. And then you get back and you're thinking, "What about this?" And then you edit it and tweak it. And so there's this kind of back and forth where it sounds like you're in control of the process, but you're trying to mine AI for its creative insights. But
Mhm.
you're in charge of it and you're choosing what to do. You're not kind of a slave to it and it gives you robotic stuff and you just churn that out.
Right. So I'm not going in and saying to AI, write a post on XYZ. I'm going in, I've got my idea. So I tell AI, here's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to formulate this into a post. What do you suggest? So I'm giving AI the things from me. AI is not coming up with the topics and what's in the post. That's coming from me.
Yeah. And I think that one of the really important things for writers is, this idea of discovering their voice, their vibe, their culture, their approach, what sort of person, how do you want to speak and come across. And some people are quite brash and bolshy. Some people are soft and cuddly. Some are very practical. And it like, whatever your vibe is, that needs to come from you. Uh, Now, you're probably quite bold and brash, I would say, in terms of, you like to call a spade and you like to say stuff.
Really? You noticed that about me? Okay.
It took a long time to come out, but there it is. um, but that means you want titles to reflect that. So when you're looking at AI, you want it to kind of help you take you whatever approach you want. You want help AI to help amplify that. You know what I mean? So like,
Mhm.
if you have a strong bullshit title, but your personality was like, very different, and it came across in your writer very different. People would feel this is just like it's fake and it's not bringing out the true
Mhm.
kind of her, as it were.
Yeah, it still has to represent who you are. I mean, people that know me, I'm very outspoken, and yeah, I tend to use cuss words. Okay, so that's not out of the ordinary for me. So when I asked AI to go out of the box, if that wasn't in my personality, if that wasn't my nature, there was
Yeah.
no way I would have been able to put that title on there. So you still have to do what's comfortable for you. It's a reflection on who you are.
Yeah. So people need to have clarity on what sort of vibe and culture, what sort of approach they want to have, and make sure that they steer AI in that direction
Mhm.
rather than just trying to do whatever gets attention or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to AI, "Hey, um, help me beat the algorithm." You know? That's not what I'm doing.
No, no. Um, and I know that, um, you know, when you get so many comments as you have had on your posts in recent days, not all of them will be supportive and encouraging,
No.
and I found that in writing, and I wonder if we maybe just talk about that a little bit, maybe some of the critical comments, and particularly how you respond as a writer, because when you put your stuff out there, you're vulnerable, and
Mhm,
most people are positive and encouragement, but not everybody is.
mhm,
And how has that been when you've had some, critical comments, some negative stuff, some unsubscribes, etc.?
mhm.
How has that been for you, and how have you handled that?
Yeah, that's been very challenging, and I think we talked about that the last time we met. Is yeah, you always expect that, but until it really happens to you, it's you're reading it, and oh yeah, well, you read the comment, but when it's like a knife going through your heart, it's a whole different story. And so I started to realize that I can't please everyone, okay? And I know that I think what happened, and a lot of the men aren't gonna like this comment, but I took it as like, a feminist, I am woman, hear me roar. Okay. So I got a lot of negative feedback from a lot of men. But my intention when I wrote it was that it was just helping other women understand what we as women go through. So some of it was misinterpreted as more like a feminist male female issue, but that's not what it was about. But what really made me happy that counteracted all the negative stuff is the comments when someone would make a negative comment and somebody else would make another comment back defending the post.
Yeah.
And there was one exchange that went on that was just hilarious. And I reached out to the individual. His writing is phenomenal. And that exchange between the two of them was very entertaining.
Right. Yeah.
So, and the unsubscribes still bothers me. I've been seeing that every day, a lot of unsubscribes, and I know you told me, "No, it's just, it's part of the game. Just, go ahead." And I saw a post with someone that I follow, and she wrote this morning how it was really disturbing, because she had like 3 unsubscribes. And I just wrote back to her and I just said what you told me. I mean, it's just it's part of the way it is. Just move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And people can unsubscribe for all sorts of reasons. They can read a post and then realize and like the post, but then they see your other stuff and think, actually, you're not for me. They
Mhm,
can like just think, you know what, I've got too much in my inbox and I need to
mhm,
filter it out. It can be actually you've just written something I disagree with and I'm offended by, so I'm going to unsubscribe. But it's hard when it's like a bit of personal rejection or criticism. And
mhm.
it surprised you how much that hurt a little bit?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did it surprise you how much that you were kind of hurt and bothered initially
Yeah,
by
because
someone?
I don't usually pay attention
Mm,
to that. It doesn't affect me. But it did. It did. At first, it did affect me, and it's still affecting me. Actually, yesterday, I think I had 73 unsubscribes, and I'm like, why? Like I was trying to put reason to it logically, like what was going on, and I said, no, I don't know why. I can't figure it out. Just move on, do your thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you were talking and I was busy writing a headline about 73 people unsubscribe for BP's Why or something. That would be like a reverse thing to get everybody to
Yeah.
uh, have a look.
But it's
Um,
interesting, one person actually sent me a personal email, it wasn't through a comment, and it was I didn't realize once I subscribed to you that I would have all these other people's emails. So I don't know if she didn't pay attention and, that indication it gives you at first about, do you wanna follow or
yeah,
whatever. So she wanted me to take it off, to help her remove all those. I said, "Sorry, that's a Substack thing. I can't help you." But I told her, how she can go in. And so that also then made me remember that a couple months ago when I was subscribing, it became very overwhelming. There was just no way. My inbox was so full. So I think that's why I'm getting a lot of followers and not subscribers, which I understand. Our time is stretched.
Yeah, totally. I've just had a few questions coming in. People are liking this idea that you're not everyone's cup of tea, and that we need to kind of accept that as part of our journey.
Mhm.
And actually, somebody's asking about us working together. Yeah, so I've been coaching Ellen the last few months. Someone was asking about that, and I think that it's important that we talked a bit about this, didn't we? The idea that you have a target market you're writing to, a target person, that when you try and write to everybody, so if you're writing to all people or even all women, you try to be broad, and actually you end up missing everybody when you do that. So when you're trying to be a bit focused, which I always encourage people to do, then you will find people over time think actually this is maybe not for me. So part of what I do is help people to grow on Substack, but then also make money from that. And some
Mhm.
people don't want to make money, and when I bring that up, they might turn off a bit, and it's kind of that's okay. But I think having the courage to be clear on who you're writing for, you
Mhm.
will kind of connect with more people doing that rather than try and appeal to everybody, and then it just becomes bland vanilla stuff. I think.
Yeah, and I remember early on you telling me that because in my mind I was thinking maybe I shouldn't start out niching down too far, that maybe I'm missing a broader population. And yeah, I remember distinctly you saying, "No, don't go that route." So, I stuck with what I had originally intended to do.
Yeah, because as soon as someone says, right, well, you're aiming for people in kind of women in midlife and their transitions and stuff, and as soon as you try and appeal to maybe people in their 20s and you widen your net, then
Mhm.
actually people in their 20s will be much more wanting to relate to somebody who's addressing the issues of people in their 20s, more specialized. You know what I mean? So even
Right.
when you try and reach more people, the people who are specifically reaching that group are going to be ahead of the game compared to you. So
Mhm.
it's best to be focused, I think, and I think you've done that well, and that's getting really clear, I think, in some of your recent posts and how you've
Mhm.
written.
Yeah, and it was funny because one young woman, I think she said she was in her early 20s, and she said, "I'm not in midlife, but now I can understand what my mom is going through."
Yeah, absolutely. And you haven't had all negative stuff from men, have you?
There's been a few, like, especially the one gentleman who was defending me to the hilt.
Right.
Um, he
Yeah.
was not gonna let this other guy, get the last word. But no, but it's interesting, some men and I thought about this in the beginning, is why limit myself just to women? And a lot of my friends asked me that in the beginning, and I said, "Well, I just can relate more because as a woman, I've gone through it all. So I can talk from my own experience and what I went through. And I wouldn't be able to get my message across, I don't think, well, if my audience was both male and female. But a lot of males commented and said, hey, you know what? We go through the same thing. Like, don't exclude us.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is men can read your stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's not a filter that says, hang on, you're a man, you can't read it. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? But but you've just got a specific angle, and that gives clarity to your voice. Really, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Just like you may get younger people reading it because they want to learn about
Mhm.
their mom or what's ahead of their future, or they just want a voice. But having some sort of being specific and clear,
Mhm.
just helps people know what they're going to get when
Mhm.
they read it, as it were.
So
Um,
one piece of advice I would recommend that I had to stay control of is not moving away from your initial plan. So it's very easy as you're going along and you're hearing crickets and nothing's happening to now say to yourself, oh, okay, well, maybe I didn't pick the right niche. Maybe it's, I need to broaden my market. Maybe I should be doing males and females. Maybe I should be doing, instead of 40s plus, I should be 30s plus, whatever it might be. And that was hard for me. So you kept me on track on that one.
Yeah, because I mean, the thing is, you've got to. you've got to be in this for the long game if it's going to work. So if you're just chasing an audience and you're not really writing what's in your heart, you're just trying to say something that'll get you views, and that'll be like for a short dopamine hit, but long term, in terms of impacting, you want to write the stuff that's in your heart and the stuff that you've got to share. So you've got to kind of tweak it and listen to what's going on, but you don't want to just be chasing whatever gets clicks, because then you won't be able to do that for a long time because you'll get bored or it won't feel real or authentic, etc.
Yeah, because when I write, it's experiences not only that I have faced, but things I've heard from my clients in my private practice, and things that I know are important. So I don't know if I'd be able to send that same message to a male because I'm not as familiar with what a man might go through in this process. Yeah, of course they go through, midlife changes. But there is still a difference between what women go through and men. That's where I think men got upset. Like, no, that's not true. And you're, you know, you're making this out to be just a female thing, and it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, having confidence to like share your lessons and share what you've experienced and share what might help with others. And particularly in the world of AI, going back to that, when it's coming from you and your experience, then it's got a bit more weight to it and value, 'cause you weave in your own experience and your professional experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps massively, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I've So I was wondering what next. So you've got like 7,300 subscribers or something.
Well, we
You've
have
got
a
all
call
these,
tomorrow. Actually, I was going to ask you that question.
well, you can tell the internet right now, you've got 7,000 people waiting on your every word,
Well, when I wrote the
Um,
second post, I was nervous as hell. I was
yeah,
like, oh my gosh. Now I know what movie stars feel like when they have a big movie and then the next one flops.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's really hard. So I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to follow up with this? And um, then I actually took a couple of the comments, gave me an idea for the second post was it's not just about saying I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to people please or whatever. There is still a balance in life with being kind, and there's times when it's okay to say fuck you and there's other times where it's not.
yeah.
And
All
so
right.
I took some of those out of those comments. I got that idea and I wrote the second one.
Yeah. I think that's like brilliant, really, that you are reading the comments and listening to what your audience is saying. And then you're not just responding to anything, but the thing that resonates with you and the place where you think you can help, then
Mhm.
you're responding to that. So, like we said, it's almost a partnership between you and AI. On Substack, it becomes a partnership between you and your audience. So you share some stuff, you see what comes back, and then you can share some more, and you're kind of responsive to that. But beyond writing just posts on Substack, what are your plans and dreams? Are you just trying to get lots of subscribers? Are you going to offer more to them, or what?
No, so my goal when I started was to one help as many women as I could. So it was recommended I start on Substack. That would be maybe be the fastest method of growth besides some of the other platforms. So now what I'm working on and hoping it will be done in January is I'm developing a personalized assessment, not a personality inventory. It's not like a Myers-Briggs or the other ones. It is detailed information from a person to determine what should their next step be? What do they really want? Because the one word that stands out that I hear over and over again every day in my practice is I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And it's that feeling of being stuck. Okay, maybe I want to change careers, or maybe I want to move to, California or whatever it might be, but I'm stuck. I don't know how to get past those mental we call cognitive distortions that aren't allowing me to move forward. And so I'm in the process of developing this assessment that will give a detailed report. And then along with that, if someone needs extra help with the report, I'll offer some of my personal counseling time.
Okay, so looking forward, there's going to be more tools coming that's going to help people get unstuck. There's going to be opportunity for one-to-one counseling, and other resources are going to be coming along. But I think people need just to be patient because you've grown a bit faster than you might have imagined. You know, we've had 161 people, so this is the most popular live I've ever done. When I turn up myself, nobody turns up, Ellen. So when you do it, please.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you've touched a nerve in terms of what you can offer. So it'll be exciting to see that, because I know you're not just there about growing, you're there about kind of helping people, really. So
Yeah, and the other thing that I realized, I've been trying to do this for a long time. I've put up so many websites and had different ideas over the years. I could be a millionaire probably right now if I had all that money back that I spent. So timing is critical, but also is when I first started with the intent of doing this, it was to do a lot of ebooks, sell ebooks and courses. But then AI started becoming more prominent. And I was thinking, and I started reading more what's happening in the industry. And then I started to switch gears. So the challenge I think we all have right now is technology is changing so fast that you might have an idea today to do something. And 3 months from now, AI's doing it and that idea is out the window.
yeah. So we've got to stay responsive.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so last question, because I really appreciate you giving up your time. You have a full-time practice and you've got whatever 7,000 subscribers to keep.
Yeah, and this is I think I told you, this is my busy time of year. Like countless, during tax season, this is my busy time because it's like holiday dinners coming up and people are freaking out because Uncle Joe's gonna be there and nobody likes Uncle Joe. So what am I supposed to do?
Okay, so just the final question really is to speak to those people who are watching this particularly, who are, you talked about trying on websites and you've spent lots of money in the past and it's never worked before. And so there may be people watching it now and that's them. Do you know what I mean? They've got a message to get out there and they're really trying and they're just getting crickets and it's really struggling. And they look at your overnight success, which wasn't an overnight success. Hopefully people have understood that's a 6-month journey. But what would be the kind of one or two things you might say to people who are watching who may be struggling just now?
My philosophy is if something you really want to do, just go for it. Okay. If it doesn't work out, pivot, do something else. Okay. I should have probably given this up years and years ago. Okay. It was kind of like a joke in my family. Like my sister's words to me all the time is just pull the fucking trigger. Because I do these websites, I do all these other things, but I never got it off the ground. And so I finally made a decision. Okay, I'm going to do this. I said I'm going to give it all I've got and try as hard as I can. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I'll figure something else out. But I just didn't give up. So
Yeah.
my philosophy is, you want something bad enough, you can make it happen.
How many years have you been trying to make it work?
Oh gosh,
And all that sort of stuff?
12, maybe 12.
12 years. Yeah.
Maybe even longer. I've lost track because it's been so many rounds.
Yeah. So obviously it'd be inappropriate to mention your age on this video, but
Okay, I told you can ask me everything except my weight. So yes, at 70 years old, every day when I'm really tired, like I was last night, I'm like, why am I just not in Hawaii sitting by the pool with an umbrella and a drink? Like, why am I doing this? But
yeah.
passion, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like 12 years that you've been at this in lots of different ways. And you've been down lots of dead ends, but you found one. So like people can look at your growth in the last 12 days and think it's an overnight success, but actually it's 12 years in the making, isn't it? You know what I mean? So if people haven't been struggling for 12 years, just keep going and keep learning and adapting, and you never know what's going to happen.
Right. If it's something you really want, it's just human nature. We want something bad enough, then, we got to put in the work to get it. That's why people talk about there is no overnight success. Same thing you hear like with actors and actresses, how many years and waiting on tables and how long it took for them to get a lucky break.
No, that's great. That's hopefully that's really, really helpful for us. And so, yeah, thanks for sharing your opinions in your
Thank
usual
you.
way.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your help.
Yeah, no, that's great. And thanks for everyone to join in. And we're going to send this out, and hopefully it'll help even more people. But thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks,
Happy
Ellen.
Thanksgiving or happy holiday, whatever you celebrate around the world. Happy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.